Breaking news, Bailu's mother confronts Zhang Linghe after the car crash. The silence in the hospital hallway was deceptive. Behind the polished white walls and steady rhythm of machines, a storm was brewing, one that no one saw coming. The world was still reeling from Bailu's devastating car crash, the incident that left fans in shock and Zhang Linghe broken beyond words. But just when emotions seemed at their peak, another firestorm erupted. Bailu's mother, arriving at the hospital with tears in her eyes and fury in her chest, confronted Zhang Linghe in a heated exchange that sent gasps echoing through the corridors. A mother's arrival. Bailu's mother had been silent since the news broke. No public statements, no interviews, no social media posts, just silence. Until now. When she finally arrived at the hospital, she looked like a woman carrying the weight of the world. Her hands trembled as she clutched a small bag, her eyes swollen from days of crying. But beneath her grief, there was fire. A mother's fire, the kind that refuses to be extinguished when her child is hurt. And at the center of her rage stood Zhang Linghe, who hadn't left Bailu's side since the crash. The tense confrontation. It happened in the waiting lounge, where Zhang Linghe sat hunched over, his head buried in his hands. He hadn't eaten properly in days, his once sharp jawline now softened by fatigue, his eyes bloodshot from endless tears. When Bailu's mother walked in, the air grew heavy. Witnesses said she paused for a moment, looking at him with an expression torn between sorrow and fury. Then, her voice cut through the silence. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Zhang Linghe slowly lifted his head, his lips trembling, but no words came. His silence only fueled her anger. "She's lying in that bed because of you. Because you couldn't protect her. Because you let her go out that night." Gasps filled the lounge. Nurses froze in their tracks. Reporters who had slipped into the hospital whispered furiously into their phones. Lingi's breaking point. Zhang Linghe stood, his entire body shaking. His voice, when it came, was raw, cracked, and heavy with guilt. "Auntie, I know. I know it's my fault. I should have been there. I should have stopped her. I should have." But before he could finish, Bailu's mother cut him off, her voice rising. "Should have? Zhang Linghe, my daughter nearly died. Do you know what it's like to see her like that? To hear the doctors say she might not wake up? Do you know the kind of pain you've put us through?" Her words were knives, each one slicing into Zhang Linghe's chest. He dropped back into his chair, burying his face in his hands again. For the first time since the crash, his sobs rang out, not silent, not hidden, but loud, heart-wrenching, unrestrained. Flashbacks and blame. Those who had been following their story remembered clearly. The days before the crash had been tense. Rumors swirled that Bailu overheard something between Zhang Linghe and a close acquaintance, whispers that had left her shaken. And now, with her accident still fresh, the blame had shifted fully onto him. Some fans sided with Bailu's mother. Others pitted Zhang Linghe, who looked like a man drowning in his own guilt. But in that hospital lounge, none of that mattered. It was only a mother's pain clashing against a lover's regret. The shocking gesture. Just when the confrontation seemed unbearable, Bailu's mother's voice cracked. Her anger gave way to tears, and she collapsed into a chair opposite him. "She's all I have," she whispered. "If I lose her, I lose everything." Zhang Linghe, still trembling, reached across the small space between them. Slowly, cautiously, he took her hand. For a moment, she didn't pull away. Their shared grief hung heavy in the air. "I swear to you," he said through his tears, "I'll never leave her side again. I'll protect her with everything I have. Even if she never forgives me, even if you never forgive me, I will stay." The room fell silent. Even the distant hum of hospital machines seemed to fade, as though the universe itself was holding its breath. Fans react. The confrontation didn't stay hidden for long. Somehow, word leaked, and within hours, social media exploded. Hashtags like #Bailu's mother versus Zhang Linghe and #Linghe tears trended across platforms. Clips from bystanders who managed to record snippets of the argument spread like wildfire. "I feel so bad for her mom. She has every right to be angry. Lingi looks destroyed. He loves her so much, but he's breaking under the weight of it all. That scene was straight out of a drama. How is this real life? The moment that changed everything. Later that night, Bailu's condition showed signs of improvement. She stirred slightly, and though she didn't wake fully, doctors confirmed progress. When her mother heard, she rushed to her side, holding her hand tightly. But she wasn't alone. Standing on the other side of the bed was Zhang Linghe, eyes fixed on Bailu, lips moving in silent prayer. And in that quiet hospital room, for the first time since the confrontation, Bailu's mother did not push him away. She allowed him to stay. The waiting lounge had never felt smaller. The quiet hum of fluorescent lights above was drowned out by the sharp echoes of Bailu's mother's voice. Her words hung in the air like thunder, heavy, unforgiving, impossible to escape. Zhang Linghe sat frozen, every muscle in his body tense, as though bracing for another blow. A mother's fire. Her eyes burned with sleepless grief, but beneath them was fury, a fury only a mother could carry. She stood tall, though her shoulders trembled, her voice shaking but unyielding. "Do you think your tears will bring her back to me?" she spat, her chest heaving. "Do you think your regret will heal her broken body?" Her accusations weren't mere words, they were storms crashing down on him, each syllable a lightning strike that ripped open wounds he had tried to bury. Lingi's lips parted, but his throat closed up. He could barely breathe, let alone speak. His mind screamed with memories, every smile Bailu ever gave him, every promise he whispered late at night. And now, those memories were being held against him like evidence in a trial he was destined to lose. Witnesses in shock. Around them, the hospital staff hesitated. A nurse carrying files stopped mid-step, her eyes wide, caught between professionalism and the raw human drama unfolding before her. A young orderly near the corner gripped the handles of a wheelchair tightly, his knuckles turning white, unable to look away. And just beyond the glass wall, a handful of fans who had gathered outside the hospital pressed closer, their phones ready, their mouths covered in disbelief. To them, this wasn't just confrontation, it was heartbreak scripted by fate, too raw to belong to reality, too powerful to ignore. Lingi speaks. Finally, Zhang Linghe forced his voice out, hoarse and trembling. "Auntie, please. I know I failed. I know I wasn't there when she needed me. But I swear to you, I never meant for this. I never wanted her hurt. If I could trade places with her, I would without a second thought." The words fell from his lips like shattered glass, painful, jagged, but true. He pressed his fist against his chest, as though trying to rip open the guilt that consumed him. But Bailu's mother wasn't moved. Her tears only fell harder. "Do you think I care about your intentions?" she snapped. "All I see is my daughter broken. All I hear is the beeping of machines keeping her alive. All I feel is this emptiness that you let happen." Her voice cracked at the last word, but the anger in her eyes remained unshaken. The explosion. And then came the moment no one expected. Bailu's mother stepped closer, so close that Lingi could feel the heat of her fury. She jabbed a finger at his chest. "You swore to love her, to protect her. Where were you when she needed you the most? Where were you when the world was tearing her apart? Tell me, Zhang Linghe, where were you?" The shout reverberated off the walls. A security guard rushed forward, unsure if he should intervene, but froze when he saw Lingi's reaction. His knees buckled. Right there, in front of her, he dropped to the cold hospital floor. Tears streamed down his face, his hands clutching at her wrists, desperate, broken. "I wasn't there, because I was too blind. Too wrapped in my own pride, my own fears. But I see it now, Auntie, I see everything I lost, everything I almost destroyed. Please, please, don't push me away from her. Let me be here for her now. It's all I have left." A crack in the armor. For a moment, silence reigned. The only sound was Lingi's sobs echoing in the sterile room. Bailu's mother looked down at him, her chest heaving, her fists clenched. Part of her wanted to shake him off, to scream until the entire building heard her pain. But another part, the mother who had once watched her daughter's eyes light up every time she mentioned his name, hesitated. In that hesitation, her anger faltered. Her lips quivered, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "Do you know what it's like, To fear that every breath she takes might be her last? Her tears finally overcame her fury, spilling freely down her cheeks. She sank into the chair beside him, her body folding under the weight of her grief. Two broken souls. It was a sight that left even the most hardened onlookers speechless. Bai Lu's mother, trembling and weeping, and Zhang Linghe, on his knees before her, broken and begging. Slowly, cautiously, Lingi reached for her hand. She flinched at first, but didn't pull away. Their hands met, her grip weak from exhaustion, his shaking with desperation. "I swear," Lingi whispered, his forehead resting against her knuckles, "as long as she fights to stay, I'll fight with her. Even if you hate me. Even if she wakes up and hates me too. I'll stay." The turning point. Witnesses later said it was in that moment that something shifted. The anger didn't vanish, nor did the pain. But the walls between them cracked. Bai Lu's mother, though still torn apart, allowed him to sit beside her. And for the first time since the crash, the two of them sat together in silence, not as enemies, but as two souls bound by the same love for the same person.